Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome in to the Fantasy Roundup. I'm your host, Spencer's Guru Urquhart. Right next to me there is Gabe Henderson. We've got a lot to talk about today. Gabe, you ready?
Yeah, excited. Big week of fantasy.
Definitely, man. Yeah, because this is now heading into week 10, so we're over halfway through. Playoffs be starting in a few weeks, and I know a lot of y'all have trade deadlines coming up. Those are the words I was looking for. Trade deadline talk. We're going to have a lot of trade talk here on this episode. Buy low candidates, sell high candidates. Going to get y'all right as far as what moves you need to make here before those trade deadlines hit. And for those new to the channel, please subscribe. For those on YouTube, head to the Bayou Bets YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button. It only takes you a few seconds. Does us a lot of good. So please do that if you don't mind. And also go check out Caesar Sportsbook, our partner, if you're interested in sports betting. Yeah, the offer we got right now is if you place up to $1,000 bet and it loses, this being your first bet, then you get that amount back of whatever you placed as a bonus bet. So basically a second chance if your first bet doesn't win. So head on over to Caesars if that interests you and use our promo code over there. So yeah, ready to get into this thing, y'all. Let's get to our fantasy headlines here. We've got a lot to talk about today. Justin Jefferson's IR window has opened, meaning that he can be activated at any point within the next 21 days. He's currently on IR with a hamstring injury. Interesting talking point being that the Vikings play the Saints this Sunday. From what we're hearing, though, it doesn't look like Jefferson will be back this week, but should be back within the next few weeks. So we'll have more on Jefferson as far as how to deal with him moving forward for fantasy football. Another star receiver with injury, just injury concerns, questions, whatever you want to call it. Jamar Chase has a back injury. He's day-to-day right now, listed as questionable for week 10. Expected to be okay, though, from what I've been hearing. There's more of a pain tolerance thing. Chase himself, though, sounded a little concerned. He's the one dealing with it, so he's the one dealing with the pain there. Must have been a pretty painful injury, but he's a tough guy. He plays pretty much every game. He missed a few games last year, but overall been a durable player, so I would expect him to be okay. Daniel Jones, torn ACL. Cam Akers, torn Achilles, both out for the season. Neither very fantasy relevant. Just figured I'd mention them, being that they're guys that are rostered in some leagues, but if you're not in a dynasty league, it's obviously time to move on from them. And then Carson Wentz back in the NFL, y'all. Signs with the Rams, backing up Matthew Stafford. Was thinking, man, maybe this meant that Stafford's going to miss some time, but looks like that Wentz was just signed to be the backup because, man, I don't know if I didn't see much of that game, Gabe, but it looked like Brett Ripon, whatever his name is, was just awful.
I mean, yeah, you can kind of expect that. I'm pretty sure. Wasn't he signed off a practice squad somewhere
else? Yeah. In his defense, it was like he wasn't expecting to have to start this year. So, yeah, I guess it was for the best that they bring in Wentz, because Wentz is at least like a starting caliber quarterback. He's no elite quarterback, but he's at least someone you could plug in and not have it be a complete disaster.
Yeah, say what you will about Wentz and how he's been lately. You're putting him in the system of an offensive coach now, and he should have an MVP to his name if he didn't get hurt in 2017. So, I mean, say what you will, he could still produce some magic for somebody, at least more than these practice squad guys.
Yeah, most definitely. So hopefully get Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua back on track, which I have one of them as a buy low. Stay tuned to find out which one I have on that list. That'll be a fun list to go over for those looking to make some trades here before the deadline comes up in a lot of leagues. So Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, both banged up. Jefferson unlikely this week. Chase should play. I say likely, but we'll have to keep an eye on this back injury. I say likely because his history has been good. So I would think that he'll be able to recover in time for week 10. It's a big game for them. The Texans, man, is Bengals-Texans. That should be a fun matchup. C.J. Stroud versus Joe Burrow, two of the hottest quarterbacks in the league right now. So I think if Jamar Chase goes, and Bengals should be okay, but if Jamar Chase doesn't go, they could be in some trouble there.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be an interesting thing. I don't think the Bengals necessarily need Jamar Chase to be at his best to beat the Texans. I love my Texans. This is one game I'm not touching. As someone who has a history of back spasms, I know that back pain is nothing to joke with. So honestly, if I'm the Bengals, I'm giving him the week to recover. But Jamar Chase is tough. He usually doesn't sit out games if he can go. So I'd imagine he does go this weekend.
Yeah, for sure. Be interesting to see how that goes. And then Justin Jefferson, man, it's just Vikings are still in it, very much so. They've been on a winning streak, a serious winning streak, and I think that continues this Sunday. I'm not feeling the Saints this week, and for those Saints fans in the chat that are feeling optimistic, feel free to chime in, because I just don't like this matchup for the Saints. I mean, the Saints are not playing inspired right now. They're just, they've won 2 in a row, but neither win was that impressive. I mean, the Colts, they barely got by. The Bears, they barely get by. It's like, come on, man. I mean, this Saints team is nothing special. And I know me and Jim have had our disagreements on it. I mean, he's not saying it's special, but he's a little more bullish on it than I am, thinking they could probably win a playoff game. I'm of the mindset if they do make it, they will get killed in the first round unless they show a lot of improvement here in the second half. But as far as Jefferson, though, the point here with him is that it's one of those things, like, if you're the Vikings, how soon do you bring him back? Do you play this extra cautious? Or, I mean, this is a big game for them. I mean, the Saints, it could be the determining factor as far as which one of those makes the playoffs. So do you try to get Jefferson back, or do you play it safe and wait till like week 11 or 12?
I'd probably play it safe if I were them. Justin Jefferson is too valuable. They have enough weapons to get by. Jordan Addison has really come into his own over the last few weeks and really established himself as a potential future elite receiver. So I think they'll be just fine. I think they've got what it takes. I'm not going to go as far as you did and say that they'll beat the Saints this weekend. I'll say that they can hang in it, though, and they can compete in that game. But yeah, as you said, they've still got a chance. Josh Dobbs really gives them an opportunity, I think.
Yeah, he definitely does. Yeah, he's someone that I feel like he was rostered in over 30% of leagues. He was someone I was thinking about maybe putting on the waiver wire segment, but I don't think he qualified because a lot of people still had him from when he was with the Cardinals, and then he had the good week last week. So, but if Josh Dobbs is available, I would recommend looking at him because he can run a little bit too, even if he's not going to be the passer Kirk Cousins was, but if he's running some, then that helps.
Yeah, you're not going to get what you got from him last week every week. You can't, unfortunately, for Josh Dobbs fantasy owners, you can't play the Atlanta Falcons every week.
Yeah.
But he's got the weapons to succeed. We said it last week.
For sure. So, yep, Chase and Jefferson, my final thoughts on this. Just hang tight if you have either of these guys. If you have them, odds are you took them first or second, third overall in your draft. So if you have these guys, you just got to hang tight and hope they can get healthy. And, it's not worth trading them because neither one are healthy at the moment. So if you try to trade them, you're going to get lowballed. So just hang tight and hope they get healthy for the stretch. But let's go over let's go over our listener league here, because I see Hank Trill just pulled up our current first place listener. I think he's on a 6-game winning streak in this thing. So yeah, it was an interesting week this week. Not a whole lot of high totals. All the totals pretty similar there. A lot of teams in the 120s. If you had over 120, you probably won. They had a few, though, that lost some heartbreakers here. Our highest score this week, Bucktown Rebel, the only team to crack over 130, took down Troy there by a 6-point margin. Troy has had a decent season, but had a lot of tough losses, including one to me. Is at least his second tough loss. So he's been a little better than his record indicates. So definitely gonna have to start winning, though, if he wants a shot at the playoffs. And Bucktown Rebel sitting pretty in second place there at 6-3. But our first place team, though, shout out to him, Hank Trill, Team Latino Heat. Now at 7-2, defeated William there, the Run CMC team. He's now at 5-4. Both of those in good position, especially Hank Trill. At 7-2, I'd say the playoffs are all but locked up for his squad over there with the Cowboys stack that I traded to him, and I'm now feeling foolish for that because my team is dropping like a rock. We'll get to that here in a minute. But Joseph, the Bayou Bandits, back in the win column, defeated Salmon. I'm on a roll. who he had a tough week, but Joseph had a much-needed bounce-back effort there to get back in the mix. Uncle Big Nick also back in the mix there at 4-5, took down Mike. He had gotten off to a really rough start because of Burrow and Chase, but now that the Bengals are rolling, UBN looking like a contender there, a sneaky team that's trending up, as well as Bucktown Rebel Jr. there in Cameron took me down this week, and man, my team is sinking like a stone, man. I started off 5-0, now 5-4. When is this going to end, man? I mean, man, I got to at least make the playoffs, man. I don't want to go down as being the most epic collapse in the history of fantasy football, but still got some time, luckily. And then Gabe here got pretty fortunate. Didn't crack the 120 mark, but got to play the original Saints fan who's having just a brutal season there. So Gabe also sitting pretty at 6-3, tied for second with the Bucktown Rebels. So, man, Gabe, that was quite the week, man. Came out with a dub, man. Those standings are looking very tight.
Yes, they are. I mean, it's going to be interesting. You know, I'm without a few Eagles this week. You know, I've just really got to hope for a Bijan Robinson bounce back because he's been killing me the last few weeks.
I know, man. Yeah, it's weird how certain players you expect to be good just haven't really been producing. I mean, my team's had something like Cole Kmet's been pretty good, but it had like Miles Sanders has killed me. Drake London's killed me. A lot of players that I drafted thinking it'd be pretty good. Anyone that drafted Falcons is hurting right now. And unfortunately, I was a little higher on the Falcons probably than I should have been. And so it's costing me in a few leagues. Luckily, stayed away from Kyle Pitts, but do have a good amount of Drake London and Bijan. So that's kind of stinging right now.
Yeah, definitely. They've got to get Bijan more involved. I mean, we've been saying it for weeks.
Yeah, I would think this is the week. I mean, they're playing the freaking Cardinals, who absolutely stink against the run. I believe this is going to be the week they let Bijan really feast, I would hope, because you got to get this kid confidence. You got to show that you believe in him as a workhorse, because if you give this kid 20 or 30 carries a game, he's going to go off. I feel like he's going to be efficient with them, more so than Tyler Algier, who's okay, but he's not nearly as efficient as Bijan. And yeah, Hank agrees.
Yep, for sure. I mean, the Falcons are a dumpster fire at this point. The fact that they play in the NFC South is kind of saving them a little bit, but they've looked bad. They've lost to some bad teams, and Bijan just hasn't gotten the touches. I don't know why they wasted a first rounder on him if they're not going to give him the touches he needs.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you all this before we segue to the trade segment. If the Falcons lose this week and don't get Bijan involved, their season is over. And I had picked them to win the NFC South, but if they don't win this week, I'll have to eat my words and just be like, well, I was wrong. This team's terrible. So we'll see what they can do. Maybe Arthur Smith will finally wake up, which I don't know if y'all saw the meme, but this little kid who was, I think they said it was his kid that had the play sheet, and he was like, "Give the ball to my favorite player, Bijan Robinson." I was like, damn, his freaking 4-year-old calls better plays than him. Like, golly, man, just ridiculous.
Yeah, he finally shaved the mustache. Maybe he'll finally give the ball to Bijan.
Maybe so. Let's hope so. But let's segue here to our buy low, sell high segment, which I would have said Bijan buy low, but it's just hard for me to feel confident there. So I'm going to go with Cooper Kupp as my buy low, because I feel like this is the perfect time to get Cooper Kupp. I wasn't an advocate to drafting him because he was going too high, but he's healthy now and should be getting Matthew Stafford back after the bye week. And looking at his recent stats, a lot of people are like, the Rams, they're just going to crap. They've been losing games. They're going to shut him down, this and that. But I still think Sean McVay's, with the NFC being down, I still think Sean McVay's of the belief they could catch a wild card. And so I don't think they shut him down per se. I think they keep, especially considering he missed games early, I think they want to keep him in the lineup, keep getting him reps and stuff. Like I don't think Cooper Kupp's just gonna get shut down like some are thinking. And with Stafford, like they've got the connection. Even if Stafford's not his full self, even if he's like 80-90%, that's still better than Brett Ripon or whatever his name was. And then Carson Wentz, if Stafford is still banged up, Carson Wentz would be decent for Cooper Kupp. So not saying give up the form for him, but considering his numbers have been down, like to me, this is the time to go get him. Because we all know how Cooper Kupp is. He's capable of going off. And once he goes off, you're not going to be able to trade for him. So get him now. He's on bye week. He's had some down weeks. People are probably looking to sell him low. And that's the time to buy when someone's stock's kind of down that has upside, which I believe he checks both those boxes. He's been struggling lately, but has a lot of upside for more. So it's time to go get him.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with everything you just said. I think Cooper Kupp's a good target who's been struggling lately, who, we've seen what he can do when he's healthy and when he's at his best.
For sure. I say you got Rondale Moore, who Kyler Murray, he's supposed to be back this week. The Cardinals offense hit rock bottom with Clayton Tune. Didn't think it could get much worse, but it did. It did. But with Kyler back, I would think it'll be on the upswing, but what makes you think Rondale Moore is a good buy low right now?
I've listed him as a buy low for these deeper leagues. Rondale Moore couldn't quite make my waiver pick. That's why I liked him. He's owned in 34% of leagues. He's really a guy who struggled to get involved with Josh Dobbs and Clayton Tune throwing him the ball this season. But, in the past, he's shown that he has a good relationship with Kyler Murray. So I think, if you're diving into the waivers or even making a trade, you can make a trade for Rondale Moore, probably using a guy that you're going to cut on waivers tonight. So, he not really got a lot of value. And I think this is a potential league winner as we enter the playoffs because of his relationship with Kyler Murray.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, because him and Kyler had a pretty good run last year. So, and you could probably get him really cheap right now because I don't think many people are very bullish on Kyler, even though he's coming back. But I think Kyler is going to have something to prove. Like, I think he's going to be a little better than some are thinking. I don't think it's just going to be a total tank job. He himself definitely isn't wanting to tank because he knows if they keep losing games, he's probably going to get replaced. And so if he doesn't want to get replaced, they're going to have to win football games here down the stretch. And so, yeah, if they do, Rondale Moore will probably be a part of that. So high.
Low risk, high reward. That's how I'm viewing it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you could probably get, if you just have if just say you have an extra running back and they have an extra receiver in Rondale Moore, you could do this an easy swap there. No, you don't have to worry about a blockbuster, just an easy swap. Yep. Just to improve the bench a little bit. So, yeah, or Cooper Kupp, that would probably require a little more wheeling and dealing, which I actually have an offer trying to get him in one of my super flex leagues. Going to have to revisit that here after the show. But my sell high, Rashad White. He had a huge week last week. I believe he was the top scoring running back. But that means it's time to sell him if you have him because there's no way this dude's going to keep being a top scoring running back. He's got a nice PPR floor. I'll give him that. But that's a good selling point in trading. You can be like, look, even if he doesn't keep that up, he'll still have a solid floor. And look what he's been doing. Sell this guy high because right now he's really been trending up. But the reason I'm recommending to sell him is because I just have no faith in Tampa Bay. I mean, that's a team. I could see them. They've lost 4 straight now. I mean, I could see them just really just packing it in down the stretch and just being just like, I don't know, Baker. Can't really say it's Baker's fault. I mean, Baker's actually played fairly well, but even for him, I mean, if they keep losing like this, he might just kind of pack it in. And the whole offense, like, they have not been the problem. It's more been the defense and Todd Bowles. But I don't know. To me, I just don't want to have one of my key players be a Buccaneer. I just feel like that team is toxic. And so Rashad White is someone that he's been balling lately. So to me, it's time to move on.
Yeah, for sure. I know you and a lot of other people are really not too high on relying on the bad teams and their top scorers. I don't mind it as much, but I agree with you in the fact that I don't think Rashad White is going to be able to keep up this production.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there are sometimes you can use that to your advantage. You can take advantage of that so-and-so's on a bad team and you can get them for cheap. Because, yeah, that honestly, I'm not opposed to bad teams, but I just feel like this is a team where they haven't really been a bad offense. I'm just like moving forward, I could see them kind of getting worse if the train really goes off the tracks. But I see you got Javonte Williams, That's an offense that's pretty much been off track all season, but he's been trending up lately, so I'm kind of surprised that you're wanting to sell him at this point.
Well, that's exactly why I want to sell him. He's put together back-to-back 15-plus point weeks, I believe, and you just don't see that too often from Javonte Williams. As someone who's been burnt by him one too many times, I'm going to use those last 2 weeks and the fact that he is trending up as an excuse to sell him high. He's just not someone that I can trust going forward, especially in a crowded backfield. With his injury history and on a team that's that bad. When I look at bad teams and I look at fantasy players that can help from those teams, I'm looking at the receivers. I'm looking at the Jerry Judys who potentially trending up. I'm looking at the Cortland Suttons of the world. If I'm looking at the Broncos offense, I'm not looking at the running backs. If you look elsewhere, you brought up a perfect example earlier, the Panthers. Miles Sanders has got no fantasy value right now, and Adam Thielen is a top 10 receiver, even though that team's bad. So that's just how I feel toward the Broncos, and especially with guys like Javonte Williams. He's got no value in the passing game, and I just don't see them keep trying. I don't see them trying to keep fitting a square peg in a round hole with Javonte Williams. I think they've got something, and this is kind of a teaser to my waiver wire picks. They've got something a little more exciting behind him.
For sure. Yeah, I just feel like he's healthy now. Had the knee last year. He's healthy now. I think maybe he could have a pretty good stretch run. But, yeah, their defense is not very good. I know they had a good week against the Chiefs, but I think that was kind of a fluke. So, yeah, it'd probably be tough for them to establish it consistently on the ground. So I could understand him being on here. I would definitely ask for a good amount, and same goes for Rashad White. I mean, both these guys are solid. They're on bad teams, so make sure you're getting fair value for them. But yeah, if you can, then yeah, it's probably a good time to move on from them.
Yeah, and I think it's important to distinguish here that when we say sell high, it's not because we think they're going to be bad the rest of the year. I just, I think we both agree that what you can get in return from them now is better than what you've been able to get at any point of the season thus far. And you can get guys who potentially have better outlooks going toward the playoffs.
Very true. Very true. I think we had a few questions here. Let's get to them here. Our Q&A segment here real quick before waiver wire. Leo, hope you're still with us, man. Appreciate you chiming in here. He wants to know trade Kamara and Kincaid or Ingram for Lamb and Hall or Eckler. I have Swift at running back as well. I'd say definitely yes, because, I mean, Kincaid or Ingram for Lamb's a huge upgrade. And then Kamara, I mean, Eckler and Kamara are about similar. And even if the other team doesn't do Eckler, Hall isn't that much of a downgrade from Kamara to where, yeah, that's a good trade, Leo. I'd take that.
Yeah, I agree with Spencer here. Kamara, he's been really good because of his pass catching ability. I don't know how long the Saints offense can keep this up. And if you can dump a tight end and get a guy like Lamb in return, as well as a premier running back, then I think you're in a great spot.
For sure. And the original Saints fan has one for us. Who would you play with a wide receiver and a flex spot open out of Addison, Tank Dell, Godwin, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Ramondre Stevenson? I'll let you answer this one, Gabe, because I'm pretty sure me and him are playing each other in this league. So I'll let you handle this.
Yeah, I really like Addison, as I mentioned earlier. I think he's going to continue to ball out as long as Justin Jefferson's out. And then I think Ramondre Stevenson is a sneaky good play this week. They're playing in the early game over in Germany against a horrible Indianapolis Colts defense who's not great against the run. I think Stevenson's a sneaky good play after he seemingly got his swagger back last week.
Yeah, he had a good week. And then, the Lions backfield not as clear with David Montgomery likely to come back. So
yep, and then Godwin has a tough matchup this week, and Tank Dell, he's got the Bengals, and I believe Robert Woods is trending up for this weekend. So, that's why I would be cautious with Texans receivers not named Nico Collins.
Heard that. So speaking of Robert Woods, I believe he's on your waiver wire list, Gabe. So take it away, man. I think you got some interesting names here: Taylor Heineke, Jaleel McLaughlin, Robert Woods, and Irv Smith.
Yeah, it's slim pickings at this point, and we've really, I know you do this, I do this as well. It's kind of an unwritten rule. We really try not to double up. Taylor Heineke, once again, I mean, same reason for naming Josh Dobbs as someone who could succeed. It's just the weapons around him. I know the Falcons are going to be trailing in a lot of games too. Their defense hasn't been as good recently. Understatement of the year. So I think Taylor Heineke could be slinging the rock around, and he's got some decent receivers to throw to. So only owned in 4.7% of leagues. So if you need an emergency quarterback for this week, I think he's a decent option.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, especially with the Cardinals being as terrible as they are on defense, because with Kyler back, that could be a low-key shootout kind of game.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I could see Heineke being a solid play. Then McLaughlin at RB, Javonte seemingly getting more and more work, but I'm guessing you still see McLaughlin having a good role.
Yeah, I think there's been value in the Broncos running backs, the top two running backs throughout the year. And I really don't think Samaje Perine has much of a value anymore. We've seen Jaleel McLaughlin get a lot of touches, and I think he's kind of surpassed Samaje Perine as the number two. I think Sean Payton out of the bye is going to try and run the ball a lot more in the second half of the season. I could be wrong, but that's what I see, given Russ has not been great. So I think Jaleel McLaughlin could continue to get more opportunities down the stretch, and that's why I like him here, especially going into the playoffs.
Heard that. And then Robert Woods, you had mentioned earlier, got him on here. So I know that last week all those other dudes, Collins, Noah Brown, Tank Dell went off. What makes you think Woods is going to get back in the mix?
Yeah, Woods has probably been CJ Stroud's favorite target, not named Nico Collins. He's a safety blanket for him. He's always open in the 10, 15 yards downfield. All first down guy, reliable receiver. And I just don't see, as good as Noah Brown was last week, I don't necessarily see him keeping it up. So I really like Robert Woods as an option if he plays this week against a Cincinnati defense that's really underrated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because when I saw you had Robert Woods, I thought about adding Noah Brown to mine, but I was like, yeah, let me stay away from that. Gabe's the Texans insider out in Houston, so
yeah. I think if Robert Woods doesn't play this week, Noah Brown's a sneaky good pickup. Whichever one plays, I think it'll be Robert Woods if he's healthy, but if he's not, Noah Brown's a decent option.
Yep, and he got a Dalton Schultz too at tight end.
Yeah, for sure. He really had his breakout game last week. I don't necessarily see him putting that up every week, but I think he's probably one of the best tight end options going forward. Not named, obviously, Kelsey, Andrews, not Kincaid, Laporta, or Hawkinson.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Kincaid trending in that direction. He's been going off lately. But Irv Smith, I see you got here, less than 3% rostered.
Yeah, with all the options the Bengals have out wide, I really think Irv Smith could be a potential weapon in the red zone for Joe Burrow, especially if Jamar Chase isn't 100%. He needs a new red zone target, and with Joe Burrow now 100%, he's loved his tight ends. It was Hayden Hurst last year. It was Moss at LSU. So I think Irv Smith, he and Joe Burrow could have a nice little connection heading down the stretch here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he could definitely be a good streamer if Jamar Chase is out this week.
Yeah, for sure. And, if you're needing a tight end this late in the season, you might as well take a flyer because it's a crapshoot.
Yep. Yeah, not a whole lot there, but we got a few, like I got one on here that I feel is pretty good. But I'll start off with my quarterback play here. Mac Jones, 6% rostered. I know it's probably thinking, like, why would I pick up the freaking Patriots quarterback? Patriots suck, but they get the Colts this week, y'all. Colts, as bad as the Patriots offense is, the Colts defense is equally as bad. And I feel like with that being said, their pass defense is their weakness. So Mac Jones, I think, is going to be able to get some stuff going through the air. He's a solid pocket passer, doesn't offer much as a runner. But if he's got a clean pocket, he'll throw for 200 to 300 yards and a couple touchdowns. So I think he's a decent streamer, especially for those in 2 quarterback or super flex leagues.
Yeah, for sure. This is a guy that I had earlier in the season as a potential, breakout every few weeks. And I think if you play the matchups, like you said, this week against the Colts, he's got a chance to succeed.
For sure. I got Keaton Mitchell at running back here, the rookie for the Ravens that had his breakout last week. And I think that could be a sign of things that come because Gus Edwards is another one I could have added to sell high because, yeah, he's been putting up a lot of fantasy points, but in reality, Gus Bus is just, he's not very good. I mean, he is what he is. And same with Justice Hill. Those guys are old news. I mean, I think the Ravens they're a team that's a Super Bowl contender, and they're going to go with the hot hand. If Keaton Mitchell keeps this up and shows that he's their most efficient runner, they will go with him. Like John Harbaugh is a good coach. He knows how to evaluate talent, and I think this Keaton Mitchell kid is the real deal. And I don't think he'll be what we were expecting out of J.K. Dobbins, but if he keeps training up, I think he could at least be someone that's in the flex conversation each week. And so in that system with Lamar, he's going to have running lanes, and with his talent, if he's healthy, he had some injuries earlier in the year. If he can stay healthy, I think this kid could be something special.
Yeah, one of my best friends is a Ravens fan, and as soon as they made this pickup, he was oozing over Keaton Mitchell and how he looked in camp. So maybe last week was a breakout party. As you mentioned, Harbaugh goes with the hot hand, and they're a team that loves to run the ball. So Keaton Mitchell is someone I considered as well. Definitely a decent shout.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, new OC Todd Moinkin likes to throw a little bit more, but with Lamar, I mean, Lamar is still a runner at heart. They're still going to be more of a running team. They're a little more balanced, which, I mean, they've been winning more football games, and so I think they're going to keep that balance up, but still lean more toward the run. So, yeah, Keaton Mitchell, I really like moving forward. He's a dart throw. He only rostered in 1% of leagues, so it's just might as well take a shot if you're in need of a running back. Wide receiver here, Darnell Mooney. Got him on here. This wasn't a whole lot at receiver. Thought about maybe Demario Douglas, but the Patriots, you never know who they're going to go to. And then who else did they have? They had a few other names. Khalil Shakir. I had him last week, though. I would recommend him again, though. I mean, Khalil Shakir definitely trending up. But I put Mooney on here for this week. It's a Thursday nighter if you need something quick fix for Thursday night. Mooney's been trending up. Him and Bajent seem to have a solid connection. I think it'll be Bajent again this week. Fields probably won't be ready for Thursday night, and it's a soft matchup. Carolina's defense stinks, so I'd go with Mooney here as a plug and play in a deeper league. Obviously most of these are more deeper league recommendations. So Darnell Mooney, it's not amazing, but in these deeper leagues, you just gotta find players that produce, even if they're on bad teams. And yeah, the Bears are a bad team, but fact is Mooney's been productive lately.
Yeah, for sure. He's one of the lone bright spots for the Chicago Bears in recent weeks. He and Bajent having that connection, and he's surprised some people. I mean, I know I am one of the few, or one of the many rather, who was ready to give up on him early in the season, and he's kind of made a nice little role for himself.
Yeah, if anything, he might be better with Bajent, but we'll see how he does moving forward. I would think Fields will be back at some point. So, yeah, just pick him up and see what happens. Not necessarily recommending to start him, but if you're in a very deep league, you might have to. And so, tight end, got Cade Otton, who was rostered here in less than 10% of leagues, had a huge breakout last week. Yeah, I believe he had like 2 touchdowns, over 20 fantasy points. Can't expect that every week, but to me, you can expect a pretty solid floor there. He's been getting a lot of targets from Baker. He seems to be their third most reliable option there behind Evans and Godwin. So they've got kind of a tough matchup this week. I think Tennessee, but I mean, that game could kind of go back and forth with Will Levis starting. Will Levis named the starter today. Woohoo! Just goes to show how down bad Tennessee is. But Cade Otton, I think, is someone that's worth a shot at this thin tight end position. Like we talk about each and every week, it's so hard to find reliable options. They found Kincaid a few weeks back. I mean, Laporta, if you didn't get him before the season, you weren't going to get him. But, I mean, Cade Otton, though, is just someone, if you're still struggling at the spot, if you're a Dallas Goedert owner he's out for the foreseeable future, just need someone to hold it down the next few weeks, I think Otton's a decent option.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And if you can find a tight end who consistently scores touchdowns, then that's a gold mine.
Yep. Yep. I don't know if he'll consistently score them, but as long as he's consistently getting 5 to 6 catches, and if he's getting targets, the more targets you get, more chances at least one of those will be a touchdown. So
Yeah, Baker targeted him a lot in the red zone last week, so I could see him doing it for the foreseeable.
because teams focus on Mike Evans, and so Kate Otten might be the guy that just kind of gets single coverage down there and has it work out. So got our final Q&A segment here before we go. I see Taylor Miller has one for us here. Fill in for Hurts. Yeah, Hurts on bye. A lot of teams on bye. The Eagles, Chiefs, Dolphins, and Rams. A lot of good offenses out this week. So, yeah, that's another thing we could talk about, bye week fill-ins, but we'll get one here for Tyler. Heineke or Dobbs? Pick one.
As much as I've been oozing about Dobbs, I still think the Saints. This is going to be the week the Saints bounce back on defense. I think Heineke just too good a matchup against the Arizona Cardinals not to play for me.
Yeah, I feel that, but I think I'm going to lean Dobbs here because of the rushing. I think Heineke can run a little bit here and there, but the Saints defense has really struggled lately, and Minnesota's at home. It's tough. It is a coin flip. Cardinals probably, their defense obviously worse than the Saints. But the Saints, with the weapons they've got in Minnesota, assuming Hawkinson's healthy, he's kind of banged up. But he's probably going to go. Him and Osborne, he's banged up too. If they both go along with Addison, I would probably lean Dobbs. But this is one that's kind of hard to say for right now, Taylor. But right now, I'd probably lean Dobbs. But if you feel more comfortable at Heineke, I wouldn't argue. I think like Heineke's a safer play. If you're just looking for a safe floor, Heineke. But if you're looking for some upside, to me, Dobbs has more upside.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm not surprised at all that that's your answer, given how you've spoken about the Saints and what your prediction is for that game this weekend.
Right. Which, I hope I'm wrong. If the Saints win, we get to keep talking about them, and they lose, and it's, but even if they lose, it's still fun to talk about them because fans get riled up. So either way, it's, we're going to be here, win or lose. So Jacob has some for us. What's up, man? Looks like he's 8-1. He says 12-man, $500 buy-in league. Big baller. I see you, bro. Good deal. Would you trade A-Chain and Dotson for Metcalf? Okay, that's an interesting deal. 2 flex league. Have Mike Evans and Dotson at the flex. Josh Allen, Barkley, Mixon, Diggs, Keenan, Kittle, Evans, and Dotson as starters. Damn, that's a nice lineup. A-Chain and IR and Iffy Dotson at flex 2.
Yeah, it's interesting. A-Chain's coming back. I think Mike McDaniel said he's on track to come back following the bye. That's a real hard one to evaluate, in my opinion. I don't think Metcalf is too big an upgrade over Dotson, at least one to justify trading A-Chan as well, because I think A-Chan's got a lot of potential down the stretch.
Yeah, I'll be blunt, man. No way am I doing this trade. No way. Unless the other owner adds in a running back to make it a 2-for-2. No way. Because A-Chain, when A-Chain's healthy, man, A-Chain could be a top 5 running back. And Metcalf, yeah, he's an upgrade, but as Gabe said, not a huge upgrade. So to me, the more I look at this, yeah, he'd be getting ripped off if he did this, man. So I'd send the counter possibly if you like, if you like Metcalf, if you want him on your team, because he would be an upgrade over Dotson. I'd send the counter and ask for another running back because A-Chain's upside's through the roof. I would probably just hold. I probably wouldn't even worry about trying to get Metcalf. But if he's someone that you see having a big second half, then maybe counter. But I don't know. The Seahawks offense has not been the same this year. That Geno, I feel like the jury's out on him. They have enough film on him now to where he's just, turned back into a pumpkin. And so, yeah, no problem, man. No problem. So, yeah, I think probably best to just hold on to what you got, because with this starting lineup, I think you're in good position to an 8-1. Yeah, I think you're in good position to win some money.
Yeah, I think 8-1 at this point. You don't need to make any drastic moves. I would stay put, and when A-Chain comes back, I think you're going to reap the benefits because I really like him going forward in that Miami backfield. He had a huge role those few weeks that he was involved in. Miami rolled in those games. So I think as soon as he comes back, he's going to keep up that big role.
For sure. And so we're getting up against the time limit here, but we'll get one more in here for George Cook. How's it going, man? Just traded JT, Devontae Adams, and Pacheco for Travis Etienne, Ayuk, and Javonte Williams. Okay, that's pretty solid. Solid. I would say, Pacheco, Javonte, pretty similar. Maybe slight edge to Pacheco. Adams, Ayuk, pretty similar. Maybe slight edge to Adams. And then Etienne, JT, edge to Etienne. So, I feel like you're getting the best player in the deal with Etienne. So even though you're downgrading slightly from Adams, Ayuk, and Pacheco to Javonte, that's a solid trade.
Yeah, I definitely
very balanced.
Yeah,
very balanced. That's a very fair trade and one that I feel like you're getting a slight edge. So yeah, good deal.
Completely agree.
All right, well, that's going to do it here for this week's Fantasy Roundup. Thank you all for all the questions, comments. Couldn't do it without y'all. We will be back at the same time next week here, and we'll be back again Thursday. Gabe and I will have our big bucks picks. We're going to be doing the show a little earlier, 3 o'clock instead of 4. Jim and Thomas will be holding it down, and then we'll all be in here for our big bucks picks. Thankfully, neither of us were turkey of the week this week, so we'll have to get on. We won't spoil it, but it's not either of us. So we'll have to. Y'all are gonna have to wait till Thursday at 3 to find out who that gobble is, or as Jim likes to say, giblets. But
tune in to see which one of the old heads has to wear the turkey hat this week.
Right. So anyway, that's gonna do it here. Thank y'all. For Gabe Henderson, this is Spencer the Guru Urquhart on Fantasy Roundup. We'll be back. See y'all later.